Security is the norm as increasing threats are being faced by companies from physical and online sources. The importance of a command and control system becomes an important necessity when considering that the evolved security risks take into account concerns linked to perimeter and manpower lapses. From a command and control facility, management and security personnel can monitor systems, interact with staff throughout the facility, and make actionable decisions that impact the safety and security of the organization.
Command centers are a strategic investment for any company, and I would say design perspective, it should be a sustainable model wherein they can look into the 5 years down the line. And scalability is a very important aspect where they can look at taking in as many inputs from field as possible. So it could be a GPS signal from the cab or the logistic vehicle, or it could be BMS alerts or CCTV live feeds from the field units. The key is to add value to the company and its risk management program, and I think command centers would be an essential element in any risk management for any company.
These systems facilitate emergency response providers to accurately pinpoint the location of an incident, the authorities to proactively detect intrusion attempts, and provide data analysis for security managers to take remedial measures as necessary. This episode seeks to provide the first such insight into this aspect.
Hello and welcome to another episode of India Risk Report, in which we are looking at the command and control systems and the security they provide right across the board, especially so as more and more people, both in the industrial and business world and also in their personal lives and in communities, are adopting that. This industry of critical infrastructure protection is expected to be worth something like US$ 92 billion by 2018, that is this year, and it could cross over to $118 in terms of $118 billion by 2028. Quite clearly a boom area where a lot of technology will be absorbed and also would require a great amount of expertise. And that's really the big question that we're going to ask our two experts today. Mr. Kunal Bhogal, Vice President of Security Risks and Design at IRIS. Kunal, welcome back on the show. And we have Mr. Vivek Kumar, who's Country Manager for Veracity Surveillance. Let me ask you, Mr. Vivek Kumar, I think the biggest challenge, despite the money that is being spent on technology, is really to get the human element in place and quality human element in place of the right quality. So you could have the ladder being climbed by top-end technologies, but if you don't have the right people to service that equipment and provide you that security, are you getting it right in terms of just satisfying yourself by buying top-end technology?
No, it's a very good question actually. So this has been the major problem in the industry, where people just think if they bought a very expensive and a very technological solution that solves the problem, that's an autonomous solution, which is not the case. It's just a tool. It's just a tool which is telling you what to do, when to do, how to do. It's the person sitting in front of the computer will have to take decisions. Yes, the system will assist them what to do and how to do it, but if the person is not capable of doing it, if he doesn't have enough experience of handling the situations or panic situations in past, he will not be able to react properly. What system is doing, what technology is doing, is reducing the response time by giving you 5 different options when this happens. So it's giving you the if and cause relationship. If this happens, you should be doing this, this, this and this. But at the end of the day, it's a person sitting in front should be IT literate enough to be able to understand that, should be from the security background to understand what a panic situation is, how I would be in that panic situation, and what is the first priority measure I should be taking. So it's very, very important to literally address the manpower requirements in the control rooms per se. We normally overlook that particular aspect of the whole solution. So either it from IT perspective or from security, they have to be literate enough.
Okay, so there are two issues: the IT and technology and the security element, where obviously the human factor comes in. Now, Kunal, you and your organization, IRIS, set up a lot of command and control systems, command and control centers. You advise a lot of company on that. Now, let me just bring in a little example from my own experience. Some years ago, I visited the command center at the Canary Wharf in London, right? A friend of mine was heading it all. And I was pretty impressed because there were several floors under the ground, nuclear proof, and they had people looking at these massive screens and constantly monitoring the hundreds and thousands of people that were walking around, because in Canary Wharf, most of the business buildings at the bottom of it have shopping malls. So there is multiple sorts of people moving around. Now, do you think, hand on heart, that in our top end business districts, and I can quote the example of Cyber Hub in Gurgaon, what is the level of security that is actually being provided beyond what meets the eye?
Okay, great question. And hand on heart, the security that we have currently on the ground level is very physical in nature. It generates a lot of data, but can we make sense out of that data and provide adequate knowledge in the right time? Perhaps not. There's a long way to go from there on. Traditionally, we have been investing a lot in infrastructure on the ground, okay, and because of this upsurge of infrastructure, there's a lot of data that is created, but we don't have the right layers to make sense out of this data, to make the right knowledge. And that's why I'm going back to Vivek's point, wherein you can have the best technology, but if you don't have the right skill sets, none of this can work. So we have the technology, but we don't have the intelligence, and we definitely are a little far away from the required skill sets. So that is one of the two primary areas where myself and my team and my organization actually focus, technology being the third.
No, so just to take the question forward, you don't have the intelligence. How do you intend to get it?
Intelligence is a two-pronged effort, right? It is not just based on technology. It is equally based on the quality of information that you're getting from the ground, and how are you processing that, and that is where your skill set comes from. That processing is based on your prior experience. Your prior processing is based on how far in the future can you see, and how are you abreast with the usage of tools that are made available to you. So all of this is a part and parcel of running an effective command and control.
Okay, I'm told about 20 cities in India are already operational with command and control systems, and more technology is being pumped in. This is also part of this whole smart city drive. To what extent, and I'm still foggy in my mind about smart cities, that where do you pump in technology where the entire concrete infrastructure already exists? So you have to make technology play to the tunes of the walls and barriers that exist. Unlike those walls and barriers should actually come up in keeping with the need for surveillance and technology, and that should be the thumb rule. But since we haven't followed that and we've woken up to it too late, do you feel that that is going to be a real area where compromises will have to be made, and once compromises are made, lives are at risk?
Yes, you're right. So compromises should not be made, first of all, but they are being made currently, which is a hard fact. I mean, we've got to accept we've got 20 control rooms up and running in India at this point in time, which are a part of smart city projects. Typically what these control rooms do is collate information from multiple systems, right from garbage management system, right from CCTV surveillance, smart poles, traffic management, and putting it on one single dashboard for management to analyze, to visualize what's happening, what's wrong, what's right. But are we actually defining the use cases, that what are we trying to achieve out of this is what is missing. We have been just complying to the tenders, the requirements which have been floated, matching it to technology and deploying a solution. But is it really being fruitful to people? Is it being really fruitful to the government or the authorities or the municipal communities? The answer is blurry. I mean, I am no person to say yes or no, but it's a question mark to everybody that are these smart cities really doing what they're supposed to be doing. Control room is definitely a very integral part of it. It's termed as a heart of the smart city. I come from the same community, so we know it that okay, our systems are being proposed in the smart city project, but is it utilized to its fullest? There are various questions why and why not. Because of the lack of skill set, because of the lack of actual use cases that exist, because client need to be told what is expected out of this project. Many a times we have seen the clients themselves are not aware what am I going to achieve out of this project. Okay, fine, I have got a fancy control room in place, but what is it for? What is it actually intended to do is what is missing. The use case is the term which I would again focus is missing, which is why the compromises are being made.
Okay, Kunal, you want to add something more to that? Because
Yes.
we are a bit short of time in this segment, but we'll go on to the others.
Just wanted to add the essence of the use cases is, the complete flow of information and what are you supposed to do in terms of policies and procedures. They have to be very well defined. Till the time those are defined, you cannot utilize this technology, you cannot utilize the manpower behind that technology, you cannot utilize the entire framework that you're currently working on.
So, in short, what is happening is that we are still far from being in a matured state in putting together a command and control system to actually address our concerns. After a break, we'll come back and look at how effective command and control systems have been in the past, how they can be in future, what are the challenges at various levels, but most importantly, are we just going ahead and doing this because somewhere down the line the diktat says you must do it, or are we really doing it because it should be a part of sensible business future planning where you protect your assets so that the losses are not so huge, which you need to make up by selling yourself in the long run, but that after a break. Welcome back. We are looking at the need for command and control security systems that need to be installed right across our cities. Some cities in India have already taken the steps. At the same time, there is much ground to be covered in terms of providing comprehensive security both to businesses, individuals and residential areas. So Vivek, quickly want your thought on this. The command and control systems market is estimated to be at about $29 billion now and is projected to grow to $35.65 billion by 2022. So obviously there is a lot of growth projected.
Yeah.
But is the growth, like in so many other areas, on a single track, in a sense that everyone who wishes to buy is buying it, but in your next door building, you are making a Fort Knox here, but the next door building is vulnerable. And I have known when terrorist attacks, they don't just look at the security system on your building, they look at adjoining buildings, and that's good enough for them to play havoc with you.
Yeah.
So how would you really say that the spillover effects of what you're doing should be incorporated into those in your adjoining areas?
Right. So it's an interesting conversation, because when first of all, this whole concept cannot run in silos. You're absolutely right. When threat come, it won't attack only one single house. It might attack the whole society as well. So that's the positive side of it, where enterprises, corporates, the municipal corporations, government, everybody is looking towards it. This is something we were missing in last 3 to 4 years. Last 3 to 4 years, when we were there in industry and we were going to somebody and here is a solution, people would look at us like, okay, what do I do with it? Do I have to have it? Because it's not a necessity, it's not a compliance. It was treated as a luxury, for customers to use it. Today, thanks for the global infusion, people have actually understood that what I need it. And it's not only I who need it, it's my neighbor also who needs it, it's the whole society that needs it. That's why the government is coming up with plans of deploying cameras all over the cities or states or country, and having control rooms that will manage the city, manage the state, and as well at some time will manage the country as well. Similar things are happening at the corporate level. So corporates are also not thinking at their one single office. They are looking at deploying such systems which will manage the entire organization as such, which is not even restricted to India, which is for global. You talk about a lot of MNCs who are currently having.
No, but they'd be deploying. I mean, supposing your company has 10 offices in 10 cities in India, you'll secure your companies, but your companies are not in standalone buildings. What about people on top of you, below you?
Correct. So that's where the spillover effect is happening. When one company is doing it at a bigger level, it is giving equal reasons for other company to do it as well. So we are getting tremendous amount of requests from lot of companies where they were just having CCTV cameras and now they want to have this system. Why? Because they've seen it happening in one of the other places. So this whole marketing thing of command and control concept has really kicked in, which is a good thing, because that's the reason the forecasts are so high, because this is something which will go exponentially. People have invested huge amount of money in security and systems assets. Now they are in a situation where they don't have a single window to look at what's going right, what's going wrong. They need such systems.
Okay, Kunal, you do a lot of risk reports, risk analysis, you check out various structures. Two quick questions. One is, do you think people are really conscious of the challenges that have come to be and they are really responding to the challenges, or they are responding to some diktat that may have come from the Traders Association or from the government or from their head office to say that, just go beyond CCTVs? So that's one. And the second question is that, do you believe that we are generally getting the technology and the human element mix correctly?
So let me go to the first question. People actually do both of the things. One is they have a need to respond and to structure, and the second is they also have to comply to a diktat or a certain compliance level, right? So this is primarily how businesses work. A lot of times compliances are driven by the corporations themselves or their clients. But in the recent past, we've also seen government organizations, municipal bodies also setting their bar really high up there. Beside the point, I think the organizations themselves and the people running it, they have now have a new level of exposure, wherein they are not looking at an incident in a silo, but they're looking at the complete situation around it. And that is where exactly the intelligence and the situation awareness comes in a large picture of a command and control. So that is one. Let's talk about technology, and that's what is going to question. That's what's going to answer your second question. Like I said, technology, there is enough available there, and people have this perception that command and control is actually a very expensive affair. It's actually not, and it is very different from a vanilla monitoring station. A command and control is an intelligence piece of infrastructure, which can not just give you the required information, visualize the way you want to visualize and take the right steps in the right time, but also give you certain level of intelligence that you can consume over a period of time and you can refer back to for all kinds of trending applications.
And do you therefore, apart from your company's branches, do you share the intelligence input with some higher authorities so that the benefit is given out? I'll give you an example. Banks that face cyber attacks very rarely talk about them. So what happens is their good or bad experience or how they countered it remains with them for fear of the banks not wanting to disclose to prospective clients that we've been attacked by cyber attack. So if you are constantly getting hammered, don't you think the government and the country as such would benefit from what the command and control system is picking up, which sometimes our governmental bodies are deluged with information and can't?
Well, we as a private organization and also a member of this community, we go out and about to talk more about these issues. There have been multiple issues. Some of them we have documented without taking names. Some of them we have derived to make an example of a situation that one can be hit with. We've done this in multiple forums, and we've done this for multiple industries. And yes, in pretty much all our engagements with the government or even with the private sector, we do bring out these aspects that why is this important and how much should you spend right now? What is your real need rather than what is written in a book? So that is something that we are really hell-bent on.
Just to add to Kunal's point, it's a very important thing. People have this perception that it is a very expensive thing. It's a white elephant, which it isn't. If it is put in right way, that what is the current requirement, divide it in phases. what is your current integration requirement, what is your integration requirement after 2 years, after 3 years, and scale it accordingly. So, a system that you put in place should have this essence of scalability.
Okay, and add on to that from point which I raised to Kunal, your take on it. Apparently, cyber risks are some of the biggest risks that command and control systems faces.
Yeah.
So, how would you be able to cope with that? Other than, say, one job of yours is to just monitor all the activity. The other is to ward off threats to you.
Absolutely, it's very important, and these days the awareness is getting increased day by day, where how secure is your command and control. Your command and control environment, how secure is the environment itself, because end of the day it's all connected to a common IT backbone. What if that backbone is hacked? Then there are a lot of technological terms like encryption comes into picture. So, all the systems that are communicating with each other or to a central piece, the data flow should be encrypted.
Okay. So, Kunal, last question to you. What has been your experience in particular and your company's experience in general in the major operational challenges that such structures have thrown up to you, which are quite unique to India and not really found elsewhere in the world?
Great. So, command and control as such is not a new technology. Okay, we've been dealing with it for the past many years, more than decades. But technology has matured over a period of time. The one key challenge that we've always found here in our country is first the required skill sets. Okay, the manpower and the required
absence of that.
The absence of that. Absence and getting abreast with what's latest. Okay. Second is connectivity. Connectivity is another big challenge. I mean, thank God today we have the surge of telecom and internet connectivity booming everywhere in the country. So at least that part is taken care of. But what also exists right now, and which is going to be existing for some time, is the level of skill sets that can be defined to run successful command centers and to run business continuity. Okay, so that has to be very well thought of. That has to be very well documented. It goes, it is different for different people. It is different for different organizations. How a government should function is not what a private company should function. How a hospital should function is, it will be very different from a large museum. So that is where one has to get down to. And I think apart from just technology and infrastructure available, the big element here is our own trainings.
So that is really the catch. At the end of the day, however much technology you bring in, you've got to get the manpower right, the skill sets right to manage that technology and to make everything work with clockwork precision. It cannot be at the end of the day left to the press of a button. I think that's really the key, but equally important is some of the messages that you both distinguished guests have brought out today on the show, that India needs to do more of this. India needs to be investing in security, particularly both in businesses and high-end residential areas and in public places, because the absence of command and control systems could lead to a tragedy like we've seen in the past. And there is a temple in Thiruvananthapuram, which I'm told has such a vast command and control network that 2 platoons of highly trained commandos, other than all the systems, can come into play the moment there is a threat. But that, I need to end the show and thank you both for your inputs and your wisdom. We'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, goodbye.